Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah, though I'm not considered a believer by some. I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach that valley, I need to see you there, because we don't need a kingdom, we only need free air. We don't seek a king, we seek the brotherhood of man, and we won't fight for bondage as we need no king or woman. We will stand undivided because we will raise the fallen. Now I need to hear a hallelujah as we tear down the wall there. The divide between heaven and earth, as tears turn to mirth, as we walk through the valley of death, and I draw my last breath. I know rapture I feel when I touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I've reached the hollow where my ancestors roam.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Hillbilly Think Tank, and you are here with me, Spencer Keck, Hardin County Magistrate candidate for District 3. And y'all, we're just going to go straight into it. Picture 6 people looking straight into a camera. They're not in robes or uniforms, just regular clothes, plain background. And every one of them has at some point served this country in the military or in intelligence. Senators, members of Congress, people who took an oath to the Constitution and meant it. And they say a sentence, one sentence more or less. They look at the men and women serving in our armed forces and they say, you can refuse illegal orders. Now, that sentence is not radical. It is not new. It is almost word for word in the military's own rule book. And I served in the military. I served under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I was taught that. But we'll get into that. It is about the most boring, settled, handwritten down idea in the American military law. And here's what happened next. The President of the United States went on social media and called those 6 people traitors. He said they should be arrested and put on trial. He said, and I'm quoting, that their behavior was seditious behavior and punishable by death. He reshared a post from a stranger that said they should be hanged. So that's the gap. That's where this whole episode lives tonight. The gap between a sentence out of a training manual, refuse illegal orders, and a death threat from the most powerful man on earth. And that's not just a sentence out of a training manual. That is a sentence out of military law, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. All officers and listed are supposed to understand this. We're all taught that. So how do you get from one to the other? And which of those 2 things is actually dangerous to a free country? Again, we're looking at that gap between a sentence out of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, refuse illegal orders, and a death threat from the most powerful man on earth. So let's look at how this all kicked off, because that's what we got to know. We got to keep this true and real.
A federal judge is blocking the Pentagon from punishing Senator Mark Kelly over a video urging service members to refuse illegal orders. U.S. District Judge Richard Leon ruled Thursday that the Defense Department violated Kelly's First Amendment rights when it tried to demote him and cut his military retirement pay. Kelly, a retired Navy captain, drew sharp criticism from the Trump administration after he and 5 other Democrats posted a video telling troops, "You can refuse illegal orders." Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth launched a review, issued a formal censure, and began proceedings that could have reduced Kelly's retired rank and pension. But the court stepped in. In a blunt 29-page ruling, Judge Leon wrote, quote, "This court has all it needs to conclude that defendants have trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees." The judge barred the Pentagon from taking any adverse action against Kelly while the case moves forward. Hegseth responded on social media, saying the ruling will be immediately appealed, adding, "Sedition is sedition, Captain."
Well, so Whiskey Pete Keg's Breath thinks he knows what sedition is, y'all. Yeah. Well, we know better. Welcome back to, again, like I said, the Hillbilly Think Tank. I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, erudite, and emancipated hillbillies in these here hills of Kentucky ever since my family came through the Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone and the Long Hunters. So, we're continuing the series, The Necessity of Dissent. I am Spencer Keck. Like I said, I'm a candidate on the Hardin County Fiscal Court in District 3. I'm going to be a candidate for your magistrate. Last week, we built a toolkit. This week, we use it. Quick refresher for anybody just joining, because we're going to lean in on it on the whole episode. Last time I gave you a 7-part test for real dissent. Loyal disagreement, the kind that strengthens a free people instead of tearing it apart. You have to belong to the thing you are criticizing. You have to know the story. You have to be standing up to real power, not just being contrary. It has to be ethical, right in what you want, and decent in how you go after it. You should bring a better idea. You have to say it out loud in public while it's happening. And you have to persuade, never force, never threaten. Hold these 7 in your head, because today we've got a near perfect example of dissent done right, and a textbook example of what it looks like when power decides that being questioned is the same thing as being attacked. Let's get these facts straight, because the facts are the whole ballgame, and I'm going to be careful with them. In November of last year, 6 Democratic lawmakers posted a video, which I've already shown. It was Senators Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan and Mark Kelly of Arizona, Representatives Jason Crow of Colorado, Chris DeLuzio and Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, and Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire. Every single one of them a veteran of the military or of the intelligence community. Mark Kelly alone is a retired Navy captain who flew 4 space shuttle missions. He also flew in combat in the first Gulf War. In the video, speaking to people currently serving, they said, you can refuse illegal orders. You don't have to follow an order that breaks the law. They said the administration was putting our troops in a tough spot, caught between the uniform and the citizens they serve. Now, I promised you I'd be careful, so here's the part a lot of the loudest voices skipped. They were right about the law. This isn't a hot take. A group called the Steady State, that's a network of more than 300 national security professionals, the kind of people who've worked under presidents of both parties. They looked at the video and basically said, this is just a restatement of what every soldier already learns. Illegal orders can and should be refused. It is doctrine, military doctrine, national doctrine. And it's older than any of us. After World War II, at Nuremberg, the world rejected what we now call the just following orders defense. We know that's what the fascists of Nuremberg, that's what they said every single time they were accused of something. I was just following orders. The whole point, the hard-won, blood-soaked lesson of the 20th century is that I was told to is not a defense for doing something monstrous. A lawful order, you follow. An unlawful one, you are obligated to refuse. That's not a Democratic idea. It's not a Republican idea. That's the floor. That's what separates an army from a mob. So, 6 veterans reminded serving members of the military of a rule that's written in their own military code. That's the dangerous, seditious, punishable by death act we're talking about. Now, here's the response in the president's own words, because I don't want to paraphrase this one. I want you to hear exactly what he said. He called it, quote, seditious behavior from traitors. He asked in writing, lock them up? He said each of them should be arrested and put on trial. He wrote that an example must be set. And a couple hours later, he posted 3 words that should stop any American cold, regardless of party. Punishable by death. That's what he wrote. And then he reshared someone else's post that said, and I'm sorry, but this is real, that they should be hanged, that George Washington would have hanged them. The reaction was immediate, and here's something important. It didn't only come from Democrats. National security people, some Republicans, lawmakers across the spectrum called it what it was: a sitting president calling for the arrest, the trial, and the possible execution of members of the opposition party for something they said. Now, if this isn't just loud enough and in our face, I'm not sure what can be, because we all grew up, if you're around my age and even younger, you grew up in the Cold War era. You heard plenty about how communists, Nazis, and fascists always elect people that then crush dissent. And those elections for them are just only electing people in their party. They don't allow anyone that's not in their party. And they crush dissent. They arrest anyone who says anything against their one-party system, whether it be a one-party communist system, a one-party fascist system, one-party Nazi system. Of course, fascists and Nazis, same thing. But I grew up with these stories. That was what made me want to make sure that we didn't become like red communist China or red communist Russia. So let's think about that. The next day, the president walked it back a little. On a radio show, he said, and I'll quote him fairly here too, "I'm not threatening them, but I think they're in serious trouble." His press secretary said he hadn't actually called for anyone's execution. So you can decide for yourself how much comfort to take in that. But the original words are the original words, and millions of people read them. We've all got eyes. If we don't, we could have it read to us. So, the test. Okay, let's see what this show does. Let's run those 6 lawmakers through the 7-part test and see what we find. I've already given you the 7-part test. We can run it through to see if dissent is truly dissent. Because I think when you actually apply the standards, these labels, they flip. Did they belong? Criteria 1, they weren't outside agitators. They were elected members of the United States government and veterans of its armed forces, about as inside as it gets. They were criticizing from within the institution they had sworn to protect. Strong pass. Did they know the story? That's criteria 2. They weren't guessing. They were reciting settled military law. The law they personally lived under while they were in uniform. They knew the rule book better than most of the people attacking them. Strong pass. Were they standing up to real power for the right reasons? That's criteria 3. The entire content was about protecting the line between lawful and unlawful authority, protecting individual soldiers and the rule of law itself from misuse of power. That's the textbook target of legitimate dissent. Pass. Was it ethical? Criterion 4. The thing they were asking for, that troops obey lawful orders and refuse unlawful ones, is not just permitted, it's the moral foundation of a professional military. The content is just. Pass. Was it public and persuasive? Criteria 6 and 7. It was a calm 60-second video. No weapon, no threats, No call to riot, just 6 people making a case out loud and trusting their fellow citizens to weigh it. That is exactly the form of dissent this show holds up as the gold standard. So by every measure we set earlier this week and last, this is loyal disagreement at its best. And yet it got branded sedition, treason by the most powerful office in this country. Which brings us back to the trap I warned you about in episode 1. The loyalty versus disloyalty box. The lawmakers said, we are upholding our oath to the Constitution. Power said, you are traitors. Same act, opposite labels. So you have to ask the Socrates question. Who's actually being loyalty and bringing loyalty to the country here? Who's being loyal to the country? The veterans reminding soldiers of the law, or the leader who wants them arrested for it? The line. Now, I told you every week I draw the line honestly. And that's also, I told you I wouldn't pretend every story is simple. So let me give you the hardest, fairest version of the other side, because it exists and it deserves a hearing. Here's the genuine complication. It's easy for a senator to say, refuse illegal orders. It is a lot harder to be that 19-year-old soldier, sailor, Marine, airman, standing in a road, given an order with about 4 seconds to decide whether it's legal. A commanding officer has military lawyers to call. A young enlisted kid usually doesn't. And the rule book cuts both ways. If you refuse an order and it turns out it was lawful, you can be punished for that too. So that young person is genuinely squeezed, and anybody who pretends otherwise isn't being straight with you. And the administration's position, I'll represent it fairly, was essentially no illegal orders are being given, so this video is solving a problem that doesn't exist. And all it really does is stir up disobedience in the ranks. A Pentagon spokesperson said as much. Well, you can say that's a real argument. You can take it seriously. But here's the thing. Notice that it's an argument about whether the video was necessary. Reasonable people can debate that all day long. That debate is healthy. That debate is the system working. What is not a debate, what doesn't belong anywhere near a free country, is the answer that says the people who made the argument should be arrested, tried, and possibly executed. You don't answer speech you dislike with a death threat. You answer it with better speech. That's criterion 7, and it's on the line. The dissent did not cross it. The response did. And if y'all don't remember, Abu Ghraib, who was it that got burnt? It was folks around 19 years of age, enlisted folks, not the officers. We'll go back and check that. Now, here's how I know that line got crossed, because it didn't stay words on a screen. One of those 6, Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, a former CIA officer who served in Iraq, she says that after the president's posts, the threats came. Bomb threats, swatting calls sent against her family, messages from strangers saying she should be executed for treason. The Capitol Police put her under round-the-clock protection. A sitting United States senator needing a security detail because she reminded soldiers what's in their own rule book. And here's the part Slotkin keeps coming back to, the part I want every one of us to hear. She says when the government is willing to come after a senator like that, the message was never really aimed at the senator. It's aimed at everybody watching. It's aimed at you. It's meant to plant one quiet thought in your head. Better keep it down. Better not say anything. That's the chilling effect. That's the entire purpose of it. And it only works if we let it work. Now, see, we got quite a few comments here. Let's get to them before we continue. All right, we've got Mike on here. Mike says, what illegal order was given? Shut up, libtard. Oh, all right, Mike, thanks for trolling. Mike says, what illegal order was given? Well, blowing those little boats out of the water without physical proof that there was anything illegal going on with them, that was illegal. And we know it. That's what was being talked about. So there you go. All right. Spirit, also a troll. All right, Echo and every one of them. All right. Spirit, having fun. Wendy Bayer. They were politically motivated, period. Well, you know what? It's still free speech there. So politically motivated or not, free speech doesn't matter if it's politically motivated. It's a whole idea of our nation. Free speech for every political motivation that there is. Doesn't matter. It's called free speech. Ada says, yes, we already learned from the chain of command, which they aren't a part of, and they were heavily implying illegal orders were given. Well, yeah, they were implying that they could be given, that they were possibly about to be given. That's what they're implying. They didn't say that they were being given. They said, if they are, you can refuse them. But yeah, Neptune, I think you got it right. You know, we know that the GOP is the guardian of the pedophiles. So anything that comes back to push back against that, there we go. All right. Yep, Tom, you got it. Welcome, Tom. All right, guys. So fun. Good to have some, like Tom said, get those right-wing bots out here having a good old time. Heck yeah. All right. So we'll continue. If you think that death penalty post was a one-off, a fluke, let me give you a smaller story from the very same stretch of time. But it tells you that this is a pattern. It's not an outburst. There's a senator named Jack Reed from Rhode Island. He's the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee. So again, an insider, an expert, exactly the person whose job it is to scrutinize national security policy. Reed went on Fox News, and criticized the Iran deal the administration was negotiating. He argued we were ending up in a worse position than the older agreement, that the time it would take Iran to build a weapon had shrunk dramatically. You don't have to agree with him. That's not the point. The point is what he was doing. A senator doing oversight, criticizing foreign policy on national television. The most ordinary thing in the world. The president's response about 2 hours later was 2 words at the end of a social media post. Impeach Jack Reed. Now, Jack Reed, you can decide for yourself. Again, this is political speech. Political speech is free speech. Don't forget that. That's what this whole discussion is about.
have one basic question, which is, if this deal is so good, why can't the public see it? Even without all the details, here's what we do know. Donald Trump hasn't made anything materially better. Things have gotten worse. 13 service members dead. 3,000 Iranians killed. Tens of billions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars in 3 months. And prices spiked everywhere. Gasoline, utilities, fertilizer, groceries. Everything is more expensive. And despite all of that, none of Donald Trump's original objectives have been met. There is a reason they are not publishing this deal, and it's because it makes plain that this is one of the biggest foreign policy blunders in many generations. I just have one.
So that's what it makes plain. That's what he said. Again, freedom of speech in this nation, and he is an elected representative of his state, a senator. We do have checks and balances in this country. The Congress checks the executive branch, the judicial branch checks the executive branch and the Congress. They all check each other. They're supposed to. So that's what we're here to talk about. And there you go. A concerned world citizen. And now you have America losing a war against Iran. And that's what we're going to talk about. So they impeached Trump for a seditious phone call. You are correct, Chuck. A concerned world citizen. America got its asses handed to them. Trump started a war. Iran finished it. And Iran's going to come out stronger. It is right now. We're going to get to that. All right. So, y'all. Now, again, President calls for impeaching Jack Reed just over freedom of speech. To the public. Again, this was public free speech. And what you're talking about, Chuck, wasn't public until a whistleblower made it public. So it did not meet the criterion for free speech. So now here's where I get to be the boring civics teacher for a second. And I want you to stay with me because this little detail tells you everything. You cannot impeach a senator. It's not a thing. The Constitution lets the House impeach the president, the vice president, and certain officials. But members of Congress aren't on that list. We've actually known this since 1797 when the Senate tried it with a senator named William Blount, and it got thrown out. If the Senate wants to remove one of its own, it expels them. And that takes a 2/3 vote of the whole body of the Senate. So impeach Jack Reed is not a plan. It's not a legal step. It can't happen. Which means the demand was never really about removing him. It was a signal. It was meant to do one thing. Make a United States senator think twice before criticizing the president again. And make everyone watching think twice too. And here's the update as we're recording this. That deal Reed got told to be impeached over, it just got signed. A 14-point framework signed at Versailles, France, with the hardest question pushed off into another 60 days of negotiation. A deal to make a deal, basically, which is exactly what Reed called it. And the early read from a lot of national security analysts is that the terms ended up strengthening Iran's hand, which is more or less the thing Reed got attacked for saying out loud. So sit with that. The critic wasn't being disloyal. The critic may well have been right. That's what dissent is supposed to do. Surface the hard truth early while there's still time to act on it. Reed's own response is honestly the thesis of this entire episode. So let's let him have it. He told reporters simply that the president does not like to be questioned in any way. And then he said the thing that I want you to carry out of here today. He said, the good executives, the good leaders listen to criticism. They take it in, they weigh it, they keep what's useful and set aside the rest. The bad ones just want it to stop. All right, next segment, home. So let's come home. Because I can already hear somebody saying, that's Washington, that's senators and presidents and Iran. What does any of that have to do with a county magistrate's race in Hardin County, Kentucky? Everything. Because the disease is the same at every size. It's just easier to see when it's big. The disease is simple. It's when a person in power decides that being questioned is the same as being attacked. That a hard question is an act of disloyalty. That a critic is an enemy. It looks terrifying when it comes with a death penalty post and the United States military. But it looks almost identical, just quieter, when it shows up in a county meeting room. When residents ask why a contract went the way it did, and it gets treated like a troublemaker. When a board would rather smear the person asking the question than answer it. When a judge executive doesn't want to let anybody know why he makes backroom deals without letting his magistrates know. And here's what I took from Senator Reed's line, and it's a promise I'll make to District 3 right here, right now. The good ones listen to criticism. I will not be a magistrate who treats your question as a tax. When you come to that podium, and I hope you do, and you ask me something hard about your money or your roads or your county or your emergency medical services, you are not my enemy. You are doing the single most patriotic thing a citizen can do. You're holding your government to account. And the magistrates and the judge executive, we all take an oath to the same Constitution those 6 veterans we're talking about. An oath doesn't mean agree with whoever's in charge. It means defend the thing that lets people disagree. A government that can be questioned out loud on the record and that answers, that's a government that still believes we're all created equal. That nobody's too important to be asked and nobody's too small to ask. That's the whole ball game, from the Oval Office down to the 3rd floor of the Hardin County Government Center. Now, next time, the episode I've been looking forward to, because it's the hopeful one. When power tried to actually follow through on this, when prosecutors went looking for charges and the Pentagon went after one of those veterans' pensions, what stopped it? Not a protest, not a tweet, a room full of ordinary citizens and one federal judge with the nerve to write the word no. That's episode 3, when the system holds. Y'all, I'm Spencer Keck. This has been the Necessity of Dissent. Come to a fiscal court meeting. Bring your hardest question. You elect me, I'll answer it. In the meantime, I'll sit with you. We'll listen until November, see if we get our answers. Because that is what this is all about. Our government must answer to us. Not us having to answer to our government if we are upholding the Constitution. And that's what this is all about. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, all based and sitting on the shoulders of the Constitution, ethical rule of law, and that animating principle that we are all created equal and equally entitled to our civil rights and to our rights guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. All right. Brian, seems like you're saying what a concerned world citizen was saying. Dennis Hickey, it's not just about free speech. It is congressional responsibility to advise and consent on foreign policy. In fact, no president may make treaty without it. That is correct. A concerned world citizen. The Memorandum of Understanding was signed in Versailles, France. I repeat, Versailles. Think of that historical symbolism and significance. The Germans signed their capitulation in 1919 there. America signing their capitulation. And of course, what a concerned citizen is referring to is we are going to give Iran $300 billion to rebuild their country. That's what's in this Memorandum of Understanding, y'all. It's out there now. Since Reid said what he said, it is now out there. It is open now. We know $300 billion is going to be given to Iran for deciding to come to this memorandum of agreement. That's far more than has ever been given to them at any other time. And now they control the Strait of Hormuz. They've demonstrated it. They can shut it down whenever they want. So there you go. Like a conservative world citizen is saying, capitulation. Mandy's candy. Exactly because they are elected officials working for the people. That's right. They're supposed to be working for the people, but are they? Captain Howdy. And Americans wonder why they are the laughingstock of the world. There we go. Booney 409. Love one. Trump and JD. Okay. A conservative world citizen. The host, the Hillbilly Think Tank, is the second YouTube streamer I've ever heard that actually is making sensible and cogent observations. That's super. Extremely rare. Channel liked. Thank you very much, a conservative world citizen. If you would subscribe to, please. Please, please, please. Thank you very much. Mandy's Candy. Right. Denise Allen. It's their money. No, we're talking about giving them, in this case, $300 billion of our taxpayer money. Their money and their bank accounts, that was what was unfrozen in the under $2 billion that was given when President Obama made an agreement for them to not make any weapons, and that agreement had teeth. So we don't have that. We have 60 days for them to think about making an agreement about not making weapons. This doesn't even say they're not going to make the weapons right now. It just says they're going to talk about it, and we're going to use $300 billion of our taxpayer dollars to rebuild their country. All right. So Dee Dee says, high IQ deal. No? I think that was a bit of irony there. Yeah, exactly. No one 765. The money is not ours. It's their money. Also, the strait is not under Iranian control. You're ill-informed and stupid. Well, that's freaking great. You know, I'm a Navy veteran, combat veteran. So you can go ahead and say what you want. Show me your DD-214. All right. William Barry. My high school shop teacher was Mr. Keck. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Where at? William, where was that at? Because I taught English language arts for 2 years in high school, and now I'm teaching in middle school and loving it. I'd love to know where there's another Mr. Keck actually teaching shop school. That's cool. All right, Scott Guy, just think about Social Security. Yeah, there you go. All right, y'all, this has been amazing. It's been wonderful. We've got to remember, this is all boils down to, like I said, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, us upholding the Constitution. And, you know, y'all, we've got to remember, United we stand, divided we fall. If we love our neighbors as ourselves, then there's no way we can fall. And if we're looking and saying, hey, I am my brother's keeper, I'm my sister's keeper, we're all in this together, we're all united, even if we don't agree, if we dissent, we can still be united in our love for our state, our county, our whole country. Y'all, remember everyone deployed right now. Bless your corazón, which is Spanish for heart. I took that from a great place to get some breakfast in Louisville. And, oh man, keep going on with the comments because this is awesome. But yeah, everybody can read the MOU there that a concerned citizen's talking about. Y'all, I'm hoping you're having a great week. The weekend is nigh. We're at Friday Eve. And I hope you have some great plans for this weekend. I hopefully have some good plans made for me. We'll find out.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah. Touch the green, green grass of home. And I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach that valley, I need to see you there, because we don't need a kingdom. We only need free air, and we don't seek a king, we seek the brotherhood of man, and we won't fight for bondage, as we need no king or woman. We will stand undivided, because we will raise the fallen. I need to hear a hallelujah as we tear down the wall in the divide between heaven and earth, as tears turn to mirth.